Good morning, everyone. Don't mind me. I'm just sitting out here watching the dew. This is John Scarborough, everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit today about dew in your pastures and how that can actually help you to get through a drought if you're struggling right now. And honestly, it can help you throughout your grazing period continually. I wanted to talk a little bit this morning about this difference that I'm seeing here. We've got this little bare spot right here, and it's moist. Like you can feel if I touch it, it's wet. But if I take my hand and I rub it across that, it's a lot more wet. It's a lot more water in that. And I didn't even go all the way to the ground there. And the point in saying that is that dew will actually build up on the surface of everything exposed. So the larger the blade of grass, the more grass that you have there, the more actual dew that you will actually get. And I want you to look here at these bubbles here. I've been sitting here for just a little bit watching this, and these bubbles, this didn't start out as bubbles. This actually started out the whole blade. I don't know if you can view in. The whole blade looked like that, just barely damp. But it's slowly dripping down. It's slowly getting bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger, bigger. Okay, and I'm saying that is because I was talking to a guy a couple days ago. He was asking me how in the world my pastures look better. How in the world I have so much more grass than he does, or and then everybody else even. And I was telling him that the biggest reason is because the amount of dew that I have. And he just thought that I was just absolutely insane. And I probably was wrong by saying that was the biggest reason. I mean, it has to do with grazing practices, the height of the grass, and all like that. But I wanted to drive home the point about the dew a little bit with him. And of course, he just thought I was absolutely insane. But you look at this water right here, and this water is actually building up, and it's dripping off and turning into droplets. And that's a lot how rain actually works in the clouds. It will start off as humidity, and then the droplets will start to form to particles in the air up there, and sometimes even dust, and it will begin to get bigger and bigger until finally the droplets get so big that they're heavy enough they fall. Well, if you look at these droplets, they're getting bigger and bigger, and they're all draining down, and they're coming down and hitting the ground. And as the sun comes out, the temperature actually starts to condense some, and these droplets have gotten bigger ever since as the morning comes along. So they've gone from to just really fine particles on the leaves like that to looking more like all of this over here, where there's a lot more little droplets of water. And all of that water, like a lot of people say, well, the water will just evaporate off of the leaf, and some of it does, but a lot of it actually drains straight down there on the ground. And so the reason that's important is because if you've got this, if your pastures look like this or close to it, and I'm using this example because a lot of people's pastures don't look far from this right now. Now, it's not quite this brown, but it sure don't look good. And it's like when you got this, there's not any surface area to collect any of that dew. Okay, so there's no dew that's getting on the ground, and plus the ground is completely exposed. So once all of this dew falls to the ground right here, the ground's actually protected from the sun as well. So that heat, it's going to take a while for that heat to actually start to heat that ground up there. And that's going to be kind of like when you have a tree that's sitting near your house, it shades your house rather than having no tree. You can tell your house gets a lot hotter. When you have trees, we lived in a house for a short time. It was a little rent house we had. There were trees all the way across the south and west side in the yard, and it just completely covered the sun. The sun never hit that house hardly at all, and the energy bill was just way cheaper because here in the south, it's keeping your house cool that costs the most. But anyway, so that's kind of what happened. Is it completely protected the sun off of the face of that roof. And so that's what this grass is doing. These taller blades of grass, they're not only shading the soil, but they're also collecting water. And I want you to look here. We'll try to turn this over. If I turn that over, the back side of that is covered in moisture as well. You see that? So not only the front surface, but the back surface of the blade of that grass. Every bit of that surface is covered in water, okay? So I want you to think about your four-wheeler or something like that. Like sometimes you'll leave something like that sitting outside, or even your car or something. You'll leave it sitting outside. It's not covered under a roof or something. And when that happens, you walk out there and the entire thing is covered in dew. Now I want you to think about what would happen if you pulled off of that the square footage that car or that four-wheeler is covering, and you backed up, and then you were able to take all of that dew and just wipe all of it off and pour it onto the ground that you were covering. And you can guarantee that that ground is going to be getting more water from that dew than if it was just sitting here like this, right here, okay? So the point is the larger surface is collecting more dew, and that's something that we need to think about as grazers, especially getting on into this drought. We're in August right now, guys, and it's been a struggle for a lot of folks. We have come out very well so far. Now anything could change, you know. It could get even worse, and we could really start struggling. And so far, we have come out very, very well, and I'm very pleased to say that. And that's a big part of it. I've even come out, you know, like I said, the humidity has picked up just a little bit right now, so we've got a little bit more dew than we have been having. But I've been coming out, and I've been kind of watching it even on our really dry, hot days, which is pretty much every day right now. We're still getting dew. I don't think there's been any morning that we haven't had any dew, okay? And so that is a little drink that grass is getting. It's a little bit of moisture that will keep that grass alive. So when you combine that little bit of moisture on there along with that shading of the soil, that makes all the difference in the world. And that guy that I was talking to, he was in disbelief completely about it. He said, no, it can't be that. And it's like, it's funny because it's like, he knew that I knew something he didn't. He knew that I was doing something he wasn't, but yet he wasn't convinced that I knew what I was talking about. And that's what was funny to me, is it's like, I guess he just thought I just accidentally ended up with more grass. And I'm gonna tell you something, guys, when you're in the grazing business, you don't accidentally end up with more grass. It doesn't come by accident. And something he didn't realize is that he actually has been fertilizing his pastures. I haven't used nitrogen in 6 years now, about 6.5 years. I have not used nitrogen. I haven't used, we don't use pesticides or herbicides. We don't use anything like that. Now, some of our pastures do have weeds in them, but we end up doing better off, and we keep that money in our pocketbooks, and we end up doing better, and then we do a lot better when something like this happens, when the drought comes. So it is just interesting to me that, you know, they know something's up, they know something's different, but they think it's just by accident. And it doesn't happen by accident. You have to plan ahead. You have to do planned grazing. You have to really, really give it some thought and some care. You know, all of this happened because I planned it out. You know, we all were told that there was going to be a drought this summer. And it's not like we didn't know. You know, we knew there was going to be a drought. And so we plan ahead for that. You know, and it still can be hard to plan, because it's like you don't really know. There's no way to know for sure how bad it's going to be. There's no way to know for sure, you know, is it going to be really bad, you know. And incidentally, guys, I just want to tell you, this is actually our yard. We're actually getting ready to mow here. And that's the reason it's this short. Most of our grass is quite a bit taller than this. But this is our yard out here, so it's a lot shorter. But I think this is a good example, you know, of what it is. And so the point is that you can plan that out. You can create a plan based on the things that's going to happen. Last winter, even, there was in the fall, we had a little bit of a warning as to what was going to happen in the winter. And here in the South, not everybody up north and everything knows about it, but anyone in the South remembers last winter when we had all of our ryegrass got killed off. A lot of people had planted oats and things like that, and that stuff had gotten killed off. And well, that was kind of predicted. Now, not completely. It was just predicted that we were going to have abnormal weather, and it wasn't going to be a good year. It wasn't going to be a good winter. It's going to be a hard winter. And so that's another thing that we were able to plan for. You know, me and Savannah, we thought about it, and we actually went out and bought seed, and we planted a bunch of stuff. I got videos on all of that where we had planted all sorts of stuff, and guys, that helped a lot, because it came. A lot of our ryegrass got killed off. A lot of the other grasses got killed off. And so when we had that cereal rye, we left that out there. That helped, that stayed out there. But a lot of it was the brassicas and things like that we had planted. That stuff stayed, and that stuff helped a lot. It bought us, it probably bought us a month of grazing by itself, you know. So that was huge. And then, you know, a lot of the predictions with the hay. We knew we were going to have hay shortages. Well, so we thought ahead, and we bought the hay that we needed. You know, we bought hay at the beginning of the year. We decided, you know what, we're going to buy some last year's hay. We did that because we knew that it was probably going to be a shortage. It wasn't necessarily ideal, but, you know, it was hay that was actually going to be there, and we were able to actually get it for a good price and get it stored up. And we just bought more than what we needed, you know. And now we're starting to see that the prices are going up through the roof. The price of hay is ridiculous, but not only is it ridiculous, it's hard to get the hay because we've been so dry, you know. So a lot of people, if they aren't cutting their own hay, they may really be struggling for hay this winter. And it's like people are going to say the same stuff, like, well, what did you do different? And then as soon as you tell them, well, no, that can't be it. You know, that couldn't be what it was. And it's like, no, it is what it is. You can plan ahead. Now, you can't plan perfectly, you know. You do have to kind of, you know, think outside the box. But you can kind of plan ahead and do things that are a little bit better. Now, there's one thing that you can definitely pretty much always predict, and that is, like I said in the beginning, about the dew. You know the dew is going to form, and you know the sun's going to come out and it's going to heat the ground up. So keep that ground covered. You want as much ground cover as you can get. The more, the merrier. That's what you want. And even if it means leaving a few of the weeds until the rain's getting close. That's another thing we did, was we went back and waited until we got close to a rain. And then we didn't get much of a rain, but we got a little bit. Well, that would be when I'd get on the tractor and I'd go brush hog. I'd brush hog a couple days before that. I still didn't bring it all the way down to the ground. But I'd bring it down, clip it down to right, you know, bring it down to where the grass is, you know, it's got its head showing. And when that rain came, then it saturated all of those leaves, all of the leaves that came from the weeds, all that stuff that was clipped on the ground, you know, and that held into the ground, and so it was able to catch every bit of that rain. So keep your ground covered. That's the most important thing. Anyway, guys, just wanted to touch on that a little bit. It's a pretty morning. I think it's going to be a hot day today, though. So anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Thank you.